I appreciate everyone who is here. Typically, we do specifically just for our Discord. We do try to do every other weekend, talk about different projects, upcoming things, and stuff like that. So this is kind of the first time that we've gotten a specific project into the Discord to talk about the project, what it's intending to do, and some of the things that are possibly upcoming. So I appreciate Co Financial for you guys coming on, talking about your project, and letting us ask some questions.
Of course, man. Of course, anytime. Thank you. The pleasure is ours.
Absolutely. And Debush, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and Moon? I don't know if Hanson's going to come on stage or not.
Yeah, Hans is going to be listening in. But yeah, I guess I can start off and introduce myself, and then Phil can get in. So,
Yep.
hello guys. My name is Debouche. I'm Sam. I run growth and product at Come Financial. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much my side of where I am.
And I'm the lead developer behind Chrome and the founder. So I kind of run everything on the code basis and as well as a lot of project management as well.
Perfect. I've had, for those, I'm not sure I know I recognize some of the people in here that are from our Discord. Obviously, probably going to see some people from Twitter and some people from probably Cone Financial's Discord as well. Um, I've had a couple of phone calls and conversations for those who are interested in my relationship with Cone Financial. Before we get started, had a few conversations. We've talked about the project and we've talked about kind of the direction that the project is looking to go. But I want primarily with what the opportunity is presented today, just to talk about where the project has come and some of the things in some recent announcements that have been made by Com Financial specifically. And then at the end, if you guys have any questions, obviously feel free to ask me or Sam or Moon. So the first question, Sam and Moon, kind of just to get us jump started, because obviously this is going to be an ongoing kind of thing because you're going to always see other projects that are going to be similar and everyone's always going to compare projects to other projects. And so, what was it that had in Moon? You talk about being the kind of the founder of Comb Financial. What was it that you're like, all right, I have to start this project, and I gotta, what was the driving force behind Comb Financial and getting that
Yeah.
jump started?
So at least my personal drive to actually do this was actually to build for the blockchain space. This is a space that I'm really passionate in the way that I really see it as the forefront of technology. Uh, Cryptocurrencies are really useful in the way that we can digitize the currency that could be used across the whole world. And in addition, it's decentralized by nature so that anybody can be limited by a central authority, which is really important to me because I think I've been in a lot of situations, and I bet you all have too, where people have been silenced, and that's because of the centralized authority basically having full control on what you say and what you can interact with. So like getting banned from a platform and like for like discords, right? Sometimes people have something really insightful to say, but in ways it can be misinterpreted, and people will then um, backlash, and perhaps you might get banned. So um, like things like that, it really stood out to me, and I found that like DAOs and like cryptocurrencies in general are really a great way at not only handling finances but also just developing technologies like again like DAOs to kind of enable people to actually have a say in what happens around them.
Cool. And Sam, any particular reason as I don't know how the whole partnership formed or anything like that, but what kind of stood out that wanted you to get started with the project?
Yeah. So, Phil kind of touched base a lot on what are like really driving factors on like what really motivates us on why we want to implement stuff in the space. A specific factor on my side that kind of stood out. There's a few, but the first one was just I was involved with the community. I've just been in this space, and I did not like the direction a lot of protocols were kind of handling, and with the whole green fiasco and all that stuff. There was just the whole everything that just been like the way it was just presented and how it's being managed was felt like a lot of back like felt like the bazaar. I felt like people were just kind of doing like still like these back end deals. They weren't treating crypto as kind of the future. They're treating something short term. And that's where I don't want us to normalize. I want us to normalize that, hey, this is the future. We have to think long term and that this is going to potentially change the world. What stood out about Comb was actually I was um, very active and very aggressive in trying to find a protocol to work for, just because it was just something I was very passionate about doing. Like I don't view this as work at the end of the day. And and then Phil dropped his face docs video. That was something that I already knew I kind of wanted to do, like kind of do my own thing as far as the protocol goes. But the moment he launched that face docs, um, and this is when the market was kind of was in a total like downstorm just due to the Ream fiasco. He launched that. He basically released a video and explained like who he is, and he's the lead developer, so he controls the contracts, right? And he put his face out there, and that really stood out to me. I was like, you know what, that is if I'm going to work and try to get into this space, that's a protocol that I'm happy to represent. And essentially reached out, and the rest just became history. Like a week and a half after, 2 weeks after it launched was when I really joined. And just since then, it's just been just growing this as much as possible at the same time, making sure that, the community is taken care of and everything that we offer, we want to stay true to it and just practice what we preach.
Sure, absolutely, and I think we can all kind of attest to that in different ways and forms as well, both to Sam's and Moon's point. Now, with Come Financial, if you guys were to say that this is the number one thing that is critical and what differentiates you guys from everyone else, because quite frankly, whether you're looking at Kubo, you're looking at Phoenix Community Capital, in a lot of ways, a lot of these projects attempt to do similar things. Obviously, some are going to be a little bit different here and there, but in many ways, they all attempt to do something in the similar niche. If there was to be like one thing that you would say differentiates your project, Comb Financial, from all the 30 others that are active and 15 others that are getting ready to launch, what would that one thing be?
I think our one thing would probably be the fact that we treat this as a tech company rather than just something where we constantly have to build like hype and kind of retain something that's almost virtually impossible to do, which
Sure,
is holding on the price and kind of continually just gathering hype. And
mhm,
that's something that we found that really difficult because it's just when you're giving really high returns and promising that, it does get a bit difficult when you don't have anything to bring. And as soon as people hit that mark, then things will start crumbling down. Like as we see from these existing node protocols, Thor and Strong, even Strong, right, being like the blue chip of all of them, um,
sure,
they're struggling to handle because it's just at this point their direction is not as concrete as some other protocols. And
mhm,
so we believe that ourselves we are backed by like a lot of a really good team. We're basing a lot of things on the math of everything and trying to create a protocol that is actually fair, and we set our priorities straight because something that we really want to emphasize on is that we're here to build, and that's just it. We just want to build and create revenue through the products we actually deliver.
And I just to piggyback off that, I think what it comes down to is, so if we take a step back and think about how everything started, is DAS, DeFi as a service, and then transition to NAS and all that good stuff, right? I think like the main differentiating factor, as Phil said, is our as us being a tech company, but it's our approach in how we're actually taking the DAS system in place, right? So traditionally, what people are viewing DAS is like, hey, you basically sell, you market this thing called a node, and from that node, what you receive, you utilize that in your treasury, and then you make investments and then give those returns out. So the way we're actually approaching DAS is we're going to implement a fleet of financial services, right? From yield optimizers that are already out right now, we're going to implement more staking pools that are coming within the upcoming days, bridging, which is going to come, uh, hopefully, I don't want to give an ETA, but that's what we're working on after ZCOM, and then loans, a bunch of financial services that are decentralized, right? So I think that's actually a huge beauty, is because like the whole time we've been all thinking like, oh, this is a hedge fund route where we have to take money outside the protocol, invest in other. No, I think the differentiating is that we're doing everything in-house. We've done everything in-house. We're going to invest in-house. When you first profit as a business, you reinvest that profit back into the business. You don't take that profit elsewhere. So why not, right? So I think that's like a good differentiating factor to kind of touch base with. But go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, so like when you look at the other node protocols, they invest into other projects, as Sam said, and that just seems kind of counterintuitive because when you invest into a company, you'd assume that you're investing into that company, not investing into that company to have them invest into others. And so something that we really want to do to kind of make us stand out is that we want to be our own company in the way that we invest into ourselves and not into other projects. Like a lot of the other node projects are turning into VCs and perhaps funding or investing into other protocols. Like a bunch of them invested into like Strong and into like Time and all these protocols that have high risk, high returns, and it's just it feels intuitive to us. So like instead of investing into Time or Strong, or not Strong, but investing into Time, right? We want to be our own Time. We want to be a protocol that people invest in because of the just the utility in a sense.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the biggest things that when you have a person that has whether it's $1,000 or $5,000 sitting on the sideline that they want to start generating passive income, they want to see what that main differentiating factor will be that will propel that specific project they're getting involved into past the other ones that are competing for that initial income, right? So
Mhm.
I think that's a great thing. We talked about this a little bit also as far as the technology side of things is it's being approached as a technology company, not a DeFi as a service project. So
So
100%.
actually, just to go off that, right? As far as like what will actually separate us, because you brought up a good point, which is like you make this passive income, like so what's next? The whole beauty of us actually developing everything in-house and having services within our own ecosystem is that there will always be a use case for any reward that you are given, right? Whether it's in Comb or um, you'll see when Zcomb launches as well, right? So whatever tokens you guys get rewarded in there will always be a use case, and that's the whole purpose, right? Like Phil was saying, what's the point of like we rewarding you and then you take that outside of the system and then all that good stuff is when you can do everything in house and there'll always be a use case, and not only will that use case make sense for you as an investor, but it'll also make sense to you as a non-com investor at the same time because every rate and anything we build is going to be top of the line when it comes to the tech and also with APRs.
Perfect, perfect. Now, considering how long Comb Financial has been around, and I mean, obviously not a long time, but it's been around for a little bit. When you guys think about how far the project has come thus far, what would you say, the one thing that if you had to go back and do differently, is there anything specific that you would go back and change that you think would better the project at all?
I think our it would probably be the initial reward structure. I think that's something that was able to gather a lot of hype and all, but the initial reward structure was pretty pretty high. And I think also at the same time there isn't actually much that I'd personally change because for at where we are at, I think we're pretty lucky to have like a small community that actually is really we're in touch with all the time. We have like our loyal bees, and then at the same time we have a lot of just we're not scaling as fast as other protocols, and we are acknowledging that, but we know that we understand that that's actually in a way beneficial because then as we try to pivot, right, we won't be as going towards a death rattle as other projects. Like in a way, like if Strong were to pivot the best they can, the Strong chain is probably a really good like move, but they have so many rewards to be paid out that it's just at that point their token is inflating itself to zero, and there's no way they could really get out of that buy pressure, I mean sell pressure, until they like lower rewards or do something to kind of just really innovate the space or provide like true utility maybe outside into the real world with their token. But otherwise I think probably just the initial reward structure, and probably that'll be it. Other stuff is a bit internal and it's kind of
Sure.
formulating something else. But yeah, I think we're at a really good spot, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, basically like, hindsight's always 2020. To be honest, this was you kind of live, you learn as you kind of go at times as well. And you're like, you know what, um, like this will actually work. And then you kind of, because it forces you to be innovative, right? And the thing is no matter what, we're really, really confident and very comfortable in the situation we're at. One of the main reasons too is by us like knowing we know what we're like releasing upcoming, like what we're releasing within the near future and our plans afterwards. So for us, like how we got here today, I don't think that would have happened if we changed something in the past, and the direction we're headed. I'm very, very comfortable and just happy to be honest. Really happy to be representing it actually. Um, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I mean, like obviously, like you mentioned, hindsight's 2020. So, regardless of, how well the project has come, if there's like one thing, there's always going to be things that you're like, oh man, maybe if we did this differently, this would have been a different, it would have turned out better. How many times does David Moss go back and look and say, hey, did I really want to burn 96.4, 94.6 percent of the overall token supply? Things like that you go back and look on is like, what could I've done differently to make a better overall protocol for everyone else. So it's always interesting kind of hearing from the project itself, how they're attempting to improve over the course of time, kind of learning from history.
Yeah, and like that's the beauty, right? It's like you never want to be caught in the woulda, shoulda, coulda. And the reason I think we're not caught in that is because we have a direction and a plan, and we're delivering on that plan, right? So that's why I think that's a huge aspect is like we're like how the reason why we're super comfortable is because we know what we're going to be delivering on, and over time as the more community, that's why we really appreciate these AMAs and constantly be doing this, and we'll be doing this hopefully daily for users is that people get more knowledgeable about just DeFi so that they don't so that they don't really get sucked into anything based off like like just shady or anything like deals, right? Like get your money back within 5 days, 10 days, right? Like that's that these are stuff that if this was in the traditional world, you would run away, and we need to think that
Yeah.
just because we're in decent like in this DeFi realm, that we should never avoid what we've kind of learned and the experience that we have, right? So we're really happy because we're going the bottom up approach. Like the direction we really want to go with is we want to make this a lot more mainstream um and we will, right?
Perfect. Now, obviously, I want to kind of move on to the second portion of kind of the AMA in regards to Zcom and talk about some of the things that you guys have posted on your Twitter over, I would say, kind of the last 24 hours specifically. Um, some of the things, maybe provide us some insight as much as you can
Yes.
into some of the things coming to the project. And I think one of the main questions that I have specifically and I want to ask is, talking about the capping to the amount of nodes. What was kind of the mindset behind that, just out of curiosity, and how do you think that's going to bring value to the protocol?
Course. And actually, it's funny you say that because the best person to answer that is actually raising his hand on stage. His name is Stinky. He actually wrote the rationale behind the article behind that, and I would love to, but it's up to him if he wants to come up on. He's raising his hand.
Okay, I accepted the invite. There you go.
Yo, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Hello,
Yep.
yeah, again.
Yeah, g'day. So I'll do this NodeKit rationale. I honestly just woke up, so I've just finished orientating myself, but I'm good to go. So the rationale behind it is that in the last few months, as I've watched the projects and I thought about the math, to keep things going smoothly, there's a few options, right? One of them being the main one is if you build up hype and you have new investors coming in, then you can hold the price up as everyone's making nodes, but then the amount of income you can generate does not scale with that amount of nodes. So while people are still happy temporarily as the price is held by the hype and the new investors, the realistic amount of money you can make over time is not going to keep up with the amount of nodes. It's just not practical. And given enough time, it'll never be practical. It can be temporarily practical, but that is different to being practical over, half a year, multiple years. Even Strong, which is considered the best, node project, the strongest one, is having some issues now with their node cap. They're holding strong, so people believe in it, but even they've had a rapid price decrease over the last month or two. So coming up with a node cap, yeah, it was a good solution.
Yeah, and like basically like he just put it exactly on the nose. We have a nice runway available for rewards. So we can always keep it going, but we're long-term thinking for Comb. Like we're not trying to stay like obviously even if we kept it, we can stay on and we'll keep that price action steady. And that's if we don't implement anything else, right? Mind you. So the thing is for us, we're thinking, you know what, since this is a long-term play for us, when we say like we're here to stay, we are here to stay, right? When I view Comb, I'm not viewing Comb 6 months from now, 2 months from now. I'm viewing Comb 5 years, 10 years from now, right? That's the whole idea. Everybody in this space is extremely early, and that's what I mean. We were going bottom up. That's the whole goal, you know.
Yeah, so I can touch on the number as well. The number comes down to allowing there to be enough comb that people will probably sell some, which means new investors can get into Zcomb by buying up any free floating comb. Not everyone's gonna like, even though I'm gonna try to, not everyone's gonna understand that the percentage of the total emission you own is the only thing that matters going forward. You can think about a lot of different things if you want to, but the percentage of comb production is like one of the most important things to keep your share forever, right?
Right.
Getting into more detail with that as time goes on, as we explain each concept over and over again to make sure that everyone understands how it fits in. But people think about things too linearly or in terms of just raw numbers instead of thinking about things more in percentages, when that's kind of the more important thing when dealing with, fee distribution and things like that. The percentage you get from anything versus your initial investment is the most important thing, not imaginary numbers of what could have been based on projected numbers from factors that you can't account for. And what I mean by that is like, if more comb is locked up and the price does go up, saying, oh, if I didn't lock it, I could have had this much money is not quite factually correct. Because if it wasn't locked, the price wouldn't have gone up. So like those two factors have to go together. So to say if I sold, I could have this much isn't true, because it just wouldn't have, the scenario wouldn't have played out that way if you had changed what you did.
Got it. And is there a number specifically as far as the amount of nodes that are going to be allowed to be created? And is there going to be a reduction to maximum nodes per wallet?
No. So it's gonna remain all the same. It's just when we cap, it'll be for like, so we base it off all on multipliers because we do have different tiers. They actually emit different amount of tokens, and so for the like our larger ones, there's it's a 7.12x, and for our regular ones, they're 1x. So we actually have to base it on the emissions rather than the actual node count. So we've decided to do 10,000 as our 10,000x as our emission rate, and that's for the public, and then the rest will be allocated to the team.
Got it. Got it. Um, Now, obviously, the node cap in many ways. Going back over to what you guys had posted on the Twitter. The ability to sell, transfer, or buy nodes that they'll be converted to NFTs. Um, Out of curiosity, the benefit to when it comes to like taking your node into an NFT, do you see additional value towards the NFT side of things when it comes to, because there's obviously a whole market for NFTs, that's why OpenSea exists. So, what value do you believe the NFT side of it will create for Comb?
Yeah, so basically the whole mindset behind like transitioning that is even with lock comb, right? With Zcomb, you get your comb back after the duration of time you locked up, whether it's our minimum, which is like I think 2 or 3 weeks, or our maximum, which is 2 years, right? You're always gonna get it back. The whole idea behind transition NFTs is it's to give users options, right? We don't want you to feel like the moment you invested into Comb that you just lost X amount of dollars and all that good stuff. We want you to have the choice. By basically doing the cap, it makes the like there can't be any more minted nodes. You can't create nodes anymore, which there'll be a scarcity associated with that. And as the price action of Comb sort of rises, because remember, these nodes are going to emit passive, you're going to get passive income from that daily. And that's just from our rewards of Comb. So if you keep locking it up and like I said, you lock it in and you get rewarded in different tokens, you will always have a use case for those tokens, right? So if you keep utilizing the system, it actually plays out really, really nice. And that's the whole idea of us. We're going to like hopefully explain it as much as possible before it's released. But the whole idea behind it is just so that users have a choice. And as far as how it's going to play in really good is that everything we do is in-house, right? So one aspect that actually does separate us pretty well is we've developed a metaverse, right? We've already have beta users for our first iteration. So having like and it's a 3D world. So like putting an example with 3D NPC is like in World of Warcraft, you have, the Goblin auction house, right? So imagine something like that where you can list your NFT, your hive to sell in the future if you need liquidity or capital, or you can think about selling it to us when we run the numbers. Depending on, there's a few factors I'll come into it, but think about a vendor in those video games where you can sell it back to us. So like an example would be like a car dealership, right? You can either take it private market, which is the auction house, and just sell it over there, or you can take it to the dealer and just sell it to, the dealer, right, at a discounted rate. But that rate will obviously be variable with how many, we just have to come up with the numbers for that. But at the end of the day, you guys have an option. That's all that matters, right? Like you guys aren't sucked in anything. We don't want people to feel like they're locked. We want you to have a choice. If you invested in Comb beforehand and didn't know about this cap, we want you to know at least you have a way out. And that, it's up to you. Just give you guys as many options as possible. Like we want you guys to believe in us and invest in us, not to trade. Like obviously we're gonna have traders, but we just want you guys to be investors long term. And holding nodes are extremely valuable. It does come down to, Zcomb is locked Comb. So obviously having as much Comb as possible will benefit you at early launch. However, the scarcity of nodes is extremely valuable at the same time because they reward Comb daily and you can utilize that within the system. So there's a lot of factors that play into it, and it really comes down to you as an individual investor on the approach you want to take.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's always going to have, different perspective of, different changes. I personally think fantastic upcoming change that's happening. And I think it's going to be really unique to the protocol specifically, because I don't think there's many out there that offer that kind of additional value to the overall node infrastructure. Now, I just had a quick question because I know that you guys, this is a little bit, I would say old news, but this occurred maybe a week or two ago, specifically where you guys announced that you're now an official registered entity as far as state of Washington as Comb LLC. Any, you know, what was the mindset behind going and setting yourselves up as an LLC,
Yeah.
specifically and kind of incorporating within the US?
So the individuals we actually worked with was a referral from Draco from Bourbon and Blockchain. Um, and so we seek legal counsel from them. Now, one like question I've kind of received from the community is like, hey, aren't you gonna get screwed by the SEC or any of that stuff? And like, I wanted to kind of make it separate. Comb LLC is different than Comb Investments, right? The thing is, remember, we're a tech company and we're trying to go bottom up. When I say we want to go and bring this to the valley, that's the goal, right? And the whole idea is that in order for us to work with, entities that are outside of, this crypto realm, they don't really necessarily accept crypto, like let's say marketing agencies, right? Or anything that just, or PR, right? Anything that we want to deal with to get the exposure of Comb out there for the public, we need to have a business bank account at the same time, which you need an entity, of course. At the same time, we wanted to make it a little bit more official, like it brings a legitimacy factor out there. We're not there to run away or anything. We're here to stay. But yeah, I do want to clear it up that that when as we do like off-chain investments or anything in that nature, we'll have a separate entity that has gone through those ropes. Because I know people are doing Cayman Islands and other aspects. The reason why it's
Right.
Washington because Phil, the founder, is that's his native state, and the legal counsel that we seek said that that was perfect. You know, I don't know if Phil has anything on that, but that's the main idea.
Yeah, that's pretty much the main idea. I think Sam hit it quite on.
Perfect. Now, you guys posted an article about 12 hours ago talking about Project C officially launched, talking about Zcomb and the future of the beginning of some of the things that are going to be happening. You also kind of did a teaser of yield farming as well. Now, specifically with Zcomb, you mentioned that within the article, you have the opportunity to lock up Comb and in return earn revenue. So it says, this is the takeaway. You mentioned this within the article. The new system allows you to get a minimum percentage of all revenue if you keep your rewarded comb and lock it. As we grow, so does your revenue as it is percentage based. You cannot be diluted out unless you choose to be by selling off your comb. And you say that this will be revenue from farms, treasury investments, and the auto compounders. In the future, this will expand to include any additional sources of revenue from DeFi applications we launch. So, can you give us kind of maybe some insight, as much as you're able to share, as to how that additional revenue could be earned, what kind of other streams of additional revenue, and what would be the benefit of someone locking up Comb to earn the revenue versus going and setting up a node?
Yeah, I think the best way to actually describe this is first by what is our one liner. Like our kind of slogan is Zcom is your ticket to our entire fleet of financial services, right? And I think in order, like the best way to kind of start this off is by doing a real world example of a brand that we're all extremely aware of. For the people in the audience, you kind of heard me say it multiple times, but it resonates with a lot of people. And that brand is Apple, right? So we take a step back and think about all the products that Apple has and provides to their community and just their investors are what? You know, they have the iPhone, they have the MacBook, they have AirPods, they have, you know, the App Store, the features they run from there. Now, how would you, as you know, a consumer, invest in Apple? You know, you'd buy their stock, and how you'd help their stock is by buying their products. However, the revenue that they generate from you buying their products doesn't really correlate to the stock price action. So now imagine if Apple created a stock, you know, or let's just token for this scenario, that all the revenue that they generate from all the products that they have goes directly back into that stock, that token. That is what Zcomb is for Comb, right? So we're offering currently two like there are gonna be multiple services, right? We have our rewarded yield optimizers, which is our auto compounders. We're gonna release more of our compounders in the coming days. And you guys will see which ones that'll be there. Once we have staking pools, that's another service that we're gonna offer, right? The whole idea is for us to keep providing services, and every all the fees that we generate will go right back into Zcomb holders. It is a stake in, I don't want to say stake in equity of the company, but it's a stake of equity or just stake of revenue, right? And it's immediate value where you get paid the next day. And what you get paid in are the blue chip stock, blue chip coins on Phantom, right? Everything that we offer, right? We want to be attractive to non co-investors at the same time, whether that's high APRs, but at the same time, we also want to offer the top protocols on Phantom, right? From Beats, Spirit, Spooky, the list will go on, but it's the top protocols that we as investors are already familiar with. And that's the goal, you know. I don't know if any Phil or Stinky, if you guys have anything else you want to touch base on. Yeah.
Yeah, like we really think that we're a tech company, so that we're gonna be continuing building new products, and that's kind of just how it is. And we think that the DeFi space is really like valuable in the way that it's gonna keep growing, and we're only at the start of just DeFi. Although like DeFi's been out for like maybe a decade or 2 decades, right? In the reality of everything, the growth is exponential. And as people get into crypto, as crypto becomes more of a staple and perhaps in a staple in currency for like third world countries that start to adopt it, or as the growth even of just adoption of crypto increases, we'll see greater like streams of revenue, and like eventually the prices will skyrocket. Because if you think about it, like $600 trillion are invested into real world assets, and the crypto market only has 2 trillion. So we have so much room to grow. there could be so much more money flowing into like a crypto, and Phantom is really one of the best networks to be on. And we know that by a fact that crypto and Phantom will be here for at least like 5 years. So utilizing this market, we're early to the game, and as long as we keep building awesome products with amazing user experience, um, and just high quality products, as a reputable company, people will come back to us, to use our products and make sure that, and we can make sure that everything goes smoothly. And as a team, we know that we can do everything we promise.
That's like the true beauty of decentralization is through this, right? Sharing revenue what the protocol makes for now and the future to come. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, with the potential that Zcom has, we initially talked about, those differentiating factors that make projects stand out, regardless of whether it's solely as, DeFi as a service projects that a lot of people are going to compare Comb Financial to. These kind of changes and positive kind of implications to the project, I think will really be one of the driving factors of people looking to this project as a top tier project, no longer comparing it to your DeFi as a service and such. Now, over
Sure.
the what's that again?
So we appreciate that, man. We seriously do. Like that's a goal.
And now over the next couple of months, where this is kind of my last question before we kind of open it up for everyone else. Um, over the next couple of months, where do you see Comb Financial being throughout the next couple of months in 2022?
So so right now we have kind of like short-term roadmaps, like weekly, like bi-weekly. Um, so what I would say actually is I would see us as one of the top protocols on Phantom, to be honest. Our metaverse will be completely out by then as well. It's already essentially out. It's deployed, unattackable. There's a lot of people that's kind of tested it so far. So I see that being a lot of expanded for, but I see us actually being one of the top protocols on Phantom, maybe the top, just depending on the route we're going with. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else has anything, but that is kind of ambitious. But depending on like, given the fact that what we want to build, right? Like after Zcomb, we're going to be working on the bridge, and that ties in really well with the metaverse as well. At the same time, because the metaverse is just a 3D world, right? So we can constantly keep building off that, which is really nice. At the same time, we're gonna after that, the next step is loans. So there's a lot of things that we're gonna be implementing out and continuously be providing for our investors and within the Phantom ecosystem. And basically, as we grow and scale, the partnerships that arise and our network starts growing, it becomes inevitable of us rising up to the top.
Perfect. Moon, do you have anything specifically?
No, we just think that overall, like, we do plan on just creating just amazing products, and I think that's something that's really valuable in this space, because when you look at other ecosystems as of now, Phantom has one of the best, like, number of products out there, and we just want to join that ecosystem and actually create something great. Because when you look at other networks, like maybe AVAX, right, there's a bunch of projects that are never fleshed out. Like when they release something, the UI is like half buggy, and
Sure.
just the overall like general idea of DeFi is degen and ape, and
Mhm.
it feels really unprofessional, and we really want to bring back that professional side, and we really know that that will be respected in the end, and we're here for that, and we will keep building products that are high quality and are all in-house. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, that's all the questions primarily for me. I want to kind of open it up for, excuse me, anyone else that may have questions. Definitely be able to raise your hand if you got any specific questions for me or anyone from Comb Financial.
I always wonder if no one asks any questions, that means that you just did a great job as a host.
Right? It's like, well, I guess no one had any
I
questions.
guess we answered all the questions, but
Yeah. And Oh, there we are. Z Thor Rider. I invite you up here. I sent the invite. Should be good. Z Thor Rider, you have to. There you go.
Hey, I'm here. Sorry about that.
There you go. No, you're good.
So, I just, because there was no questions, I thought I would just come on and say big congratulations for really seeing the big picture and having the balls to go ahead and, blaze your own path.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we put a lot of thought into this, and we really think it's the right direction because we do want to be something of our own. And again, I came into the space to build, and we're just gonna keep building, and we're just gonna keep putting out products that we really enjoy, and not fall into the fact that we need to build hype and just do all that. We just want to provide an actual impact on this space and not join or follow the bandwagon that everybody else is doing. So yeah, thank you so much.
Creative finance. Nicely done. Bye.
All right.
No worries. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect.
That's really nice of her, actually. Yeah, guys, if any of you guys have any questions regarding NodeCap or anything that we mentioned today about Zcom or just anything at all with our protocol for the coming days to come, or anything that's just that you feel like maybe even if you understand it, but you feel like just needs to be elaborated a little bit more for the people that tune in later, by all means, ask away. We're at your disposal. I'm not on a time like schedule right now, so just know that just want to give everybody a chance. All right. Flip money into assets. I like that. And he has a Zcom He has a Zcom logo on it as well.
There
I
you
love
go.
that.
Man,
Hey,
How you
hey.
doing, my man?
so my question is the node cap. Say obviously you're gonna cap it at 10,000 rewards. Say we're doing awesome. Like, would you guys push it up to like 20,000?
Oh, as
We
far
don't
as
think
stability?
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think so because Stinky, you want to elaborate on this? I think you'd probably be best for this. Just yeah, we don't want to overinflate the emissions because the balance between the farmers and then the noders are still pretty high. And so in order to retain the ratio, it's better if we don't give the noders a too big of a benefit over anybody wanting to enter the ecosystem.
Yeah. So you can actually touch base on if you're able to about like how 80% of the supply is controlled by the noders currently right now. Is your mic?
Okay, yeah, that's nice. Just another good thing. I mean, you pretty much. I think the top. I have two top five. I think top bar. It gives you like 600 a month. Even if you keep 300 for yourself and put 300 into the Zcom, yield farming or staking, that's pretty much still using the ecosystem. So you're like pretty much just working your own, like, I call it velocity of money.
No.
So
So
it's just awesome. I love where you guys are going with it. I just want people to know how that works. So I mean, I'm not in it for the quick money. I'm in it for the long run. So if I put my money in Zcom, it's just gonna keep growing and growing and growing. So it's awesome, man. I love what you guys are doing.
That's the beauty,
Thank
right? Like, everything that like remember, like the whole aspect of Zcom is that you get exposed to an array of services, well, fees that are rewarded to you from an array of services that we provide today and then what we will provide in the future. So it's a really great way to kind of get exposure. At the same time, your rewards that you're paid, you will have a use case for them within our ecosystem. So it's up to you if you want to take it back or utilize it within it. But the whole idea is that we're going to keep building and providing a use case for everything that we will reward you guys with. And at the same time, remember, that is the rewards you get is based off you believing in Comb, and you will get that back after the duration of time of your lockup period ends, which is, something I just want to kind of highlight once again. But thank you, assets. Coming up.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's we work so hard for money. Why not our money work for us now, right?
Exactly.
Appreciate that, man.
Exactly.
Yo, is my mic working again? Was it not working before?
Yeah, it wasn't
was
working.
not actually.
Oh. Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
good.
Do you want to kind of touch base? I don't know, because I see some few questions on there, but I was kind of thinking about because he asked a question about like the node holders and with emissions. I thought it would be a nice leeway into the how they have like
Yeah.
already the control.
So yeah, it's again, there's so many different factors, but one of them is obviously quite psychological, right? Like, do you care? And this is why I say people don't understand percentages all the time. Like, do you care if the price holds and goes up when your percentage doesn't change? The answer is obviously yes. People do care about that. So if you let the number of nodes go up higher, there will be some mental gymnastics that go on, where there will be some other kind of sell pressure, even though the percentages never changed. So that will have a more negative effect on price potentially. And due to that, you just it can cause people to spiral a little bit. So you want to avoid that. That's why like other protocols that have higher nodes could still do it, but the psychology is already there that certain things are happening or things are done a certain way. And so that's always a risk you have to weigh up. And we can't really take away nodes. We can always readjust it in the future. Currently, I don't see the reason to. There are other options for having nodes as endpoints that don't emit comb and such. So doing this earlier was just better, right? In my mind, and this number just happened to work out at a good ratio to having good farm emissions, which is something else we have to consider. And so when I say nodes hold 80% of the comb, it's because, well, you have to take away the current circulating supply, but the emissions per day work out as 80/20. So nodes have the largest advantage when it comes to locking up the total amount of Z-comb to accrue those fees.
Perfect. I don't know if that overall answers your question there, Flip Money.
Seems like it did. I guess the next one would be Crypto Pride, and then I saw FS 333, and then Ender's Game.
And by Crypto Pride just sent you the request.
Thanks again, Flip Assets, for coming out, man.
Yes. I have a question about what happens to your neck that you have already wrapped if we reach the 10,000 node cap.
Yeah, so we're gonna allow you to basically put that back into Zcomb. So just put it 1-to-1 and it will just allow you to put it into Zcomb. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly.
That's all I had.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's actually that you know it's a simple question, but that's a question that's on a lot of people's mind actually. You're not the only one who's actually asked that, so appreciate you actually asking that.
Okay.
Okay, bring on Ender's Game.
FS. Okay, Ender's Game. Perfect.
FS 33. Ender's Game, you are up.
What's going on, Enders? Enders, your mic is not. If you're talking, it's not. I can't hear you. I think it's happening to a lot of people today.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's working right now.
There you
Never mind.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry. I was messing with all my output devices and stuff, messing around up here. Hey, thank you guys for making the AMA. These are really helpful. I think the investors like it a lot too. I only have a few questions. So since we're having a cap on nodes and we're kind of ultimately trading for shares within the company, do we still plan on having taxes, or is that going to kind of phase out, or is there going to be like, does that make sense?
I can cover this if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, you saw the tax. Effectively, we didn't set aside. Okay, so we did the change of tokenomics kind of because we're going from just nodes and the way the tokens are broken down to a new system. So it does require a large amount of change, but we haven't set aside an amount of comb for the company or for future incentives or things like that. So then the tax acts as a way for us to build up comb reserves that we can then use to reward Zcomb holders or do for future promotions, or if we have deals with another protocol, we can then have a deal with they get some comb for their users, we get some of their stuff. So because we didn't set aside a raw amount for us, that will be our only way of getting comb apart from buying it back with treasury money, which isn't always the best way to do things, I don't think. So it would allow Comb Financial to accrue some of the supply over time, so that we can use it for future things.
Got it. Got it. This might be a little bit more of a difficult question. I don't know if you guys know this yet, but and I wouldn't expect this to be high, but what is our current net operating income?
Yeah, so we actually ran based off some numbers just because of just from like 100K. So essentially, based on the 100K in 6 months, I would say the revenue. Well, it depends on the price action, right? If we're viewing it from a layer one or if we're viewing it from dollars. A lot of this depends because we held a lot of variables constant. Well, not constant, but we held like a TVL for yield ops at 50%, like not the TVL, the APR for yield optimizer 50%. We came down to, it was about 32. Well, it depends on the lockup period that you go with for Zcomb. But it comes down to like at a 100K investment, you should expect to your expected or approximate revenue or return actually would be 32,000 for a 6-month lockup period.
That's a 64% yearly.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Is there going to be investor reports that kind of come out on a monthly basis to see like how Comb is doing as a company and where we're at?
I think we could do that. Well, we hadn't thought of that initially, but I think that'd actually be really helpful. And I think Sam, we could write this down because I think we should actually do that then.
Yeah,
But
You'll technically know by the amount of fees coming out through Zcomb. But yeah, we can do an official one.
yeah, and the whole idea and how we got those numbers anyways is because we're like, okay, now because becoming more and more official, we have to present these to people, right? To see like what is your expected returns in investing in us. So 100%, I do think that great actually thing that we'll put that in the notes to have, because I do think that is super valuable as an investor to actually start, like that's how everything works in traditional world, right? Like they release, okay, that's what they're coming out with.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys.
Absolutely. I think Ender's Game, that was actually a great thing because obviously, one of the biggest things behind, Sam, you've talked about this, Moon, as well, as you guys are approaching this as a technology company. And if you think of any technology company, being able to replicate not obviously everything, but a lot of things that they do in the I don't want to say real world, but in that type of your NASDAQ and stuff like that, certain things they have to list, that transparency. I think that a lot of that, like Ender's Game was mentioning, could really be taken and provided, and really just distance yourself even more so as a true technology company. So I think that was a great comment.
Like earning reports, 100% actually. Wow, great job, Ender's. That's actually phenomenal.
All right,
Thank you.
bring on FS333.
Hey, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
And
Hi, how you doing? So my name is Fred. I'm from New York City. Just want to thank you guys for being on here with us and just educating us on what you guys have going on in your project. With that being said, I know you guys are looking to offer a lot of services and a lot of products, and you guys are really looking to push that into the future, which I think is really, really awesome. The one question I did have, just from being in a lot of node projects, most specifically Ring and Time and Climate DAO, is I saw a lot of things happen within the community and the Discord where people weren't listening as far as the team, and the team was kind of doing their own thing, and there was a lot of people on different pages. Let's say there is a situation in the future where you have, the node holders and they think that there's a black and white thing that can help make the protocol money or help make the project money. Is it going to be kind of like a one-way road where the team is doing what they want, their products and their data or et cetera, their services, that's just the road they're going on? Or is it going to be a kind of level communication with the community? Hey, if they want this, if they want that, that's kind of what I want to know.
Yeah. So just given like the fact, right? Like for us, think about what Zcom is, right? It's a governance at the same time, right? You're owning shares, like by you having shares, like the revenue of the protocol, you technically sort of own it, right? At the same time, given the route that we've already taken thus far, we've announced our node cap, right? The thing is that this isn't an issue right now that we see for us, but it's an issue that's going to happen in the future, and we rather tackle this down early on and make sure that our protocol is here to stay. I think that can actually speak somewhat of what you're at, like, for your question is essentially that, like, everybody knows that long term, this will not just having nodes or just having a protocol that only provides nodes is not going to sustain, right? Like, you want that token or what they reward you in to have a lot of the utility and value, which is what we're seeing from a lot of protocols that are trying to transition towards a utility model. And hopefully that kind of gauges and answers slightly of what you're discussing about. But the whole idea is that even with this node cap, we saw that this is going to be an issue because we're fine for the next 6 months, year, right? We're totally fine. But it's something that it's like, okay, if we're thinking long term, but this has to be we have to tackle this down before we onboard new investors as we start scaling up, you know. So hopefully, like, that kind of answers a little bit about what
Yeah,
we're
no,
getting.
absolutely. That definitely helps me answer. And just for more of like a situation where you see your community and they really want something done. That's kind of what I want to understand. If are you guys kind of running your own path where it's like Apple's not going to listen to the regular retail guy that's trying to understand what products you're offering, but if the community is like, hey, maybe you should really offer this loan service with margin, are you guys going to look to put that in because the community wants it, or is there a set type of road and products you guys are already looking to offer and that's the end of it? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
so
We can take it in. So how it would be is if the community pitches an idea, then we'd run it through the logistics, and then we'd put up a proposal back to be like, here's how we see it working or not, and then everyone can take the time to think about whether that falls in the way they imagined it, right? Because just because a proposal gets put forward, and people do really want it, doesn't mean that the time or the thought to make sure it fits into the ecosystem has been, and then look at these proposals, flesh them out a bit more, and then represent it back to the community. Be like, okay, these are how we see it going. Is this still what you guys thought when you initially had it? Here will be a timeline for it. So we can take on what the community thinks in terms of new ideas like that. There's no issue.
Right, right. That's all I was asking for, just to understand that you guys are, not just gonna do your own thing, because that's kind of how I felt. I'm not comparing you guys to Ring whatsoever, but that's what
no,
I felt with them is that they were constantly like, we're doing this, and then the community was biting back, and et cetera. But thank you for
This
your time. I really
change,
no, of
appreciate
course.
it.
I actually do have a really good follow up to that, and just because I do want to highlight, so we do have a suggestions channel in our Discord where users can kind of, or not users, investors, community members, they can kind of type in there like what they want to see. At the same time, we are always at your disposal. Anybody who's always DM me from the community knows I'll respond. It might take some time just get mass DMs, but I will respond to each one of you guys. And at the same time, Moon, who's the lead dev, is very active within the community, and this is one of the biggest benefits of having, like us just being out there and very engaged with our community is that, and also having like everything in house is that we saw an issue. Like an actual example that I will bring up is Nectar, right? When we officially launched Nectar, we didn't have it. We didn't have the wrap function out there, right? So people were like, okay, what happened if I want to like suppose like you have seven you claim seven, or not even the same because there's a slight tax associated, not really any tax, but it's really slight, like minimal. But suppose like you want to get a top bar high, which is 9 comb, and you're like, okay, now you have 8.5 claimable rewards or something out there that you claimed into Nectar. Now you're like, what the heck? I have two different tokens. I have comb and I have Nectar. Do I have to wait for the epoch? So how do you and suppose the price of comb goes down that day, so you want a DCA or do something of that nature. So then we implemented this. This happened because we noticed it happen within the community, and we saw people saying, "Hey, this is an issue. How can we fix this?" So we went ahead and fixed this. And this is the beauty of having like just top development is we can push products like this like as soon as possible, right? If it's
Right, quickly.
exactly. So basically, we implement the wrap Nectar function. So if you want a DCA, you can actually wrap comb into Nectar, and then you can then that will just then so you do wrap 0.5 comb into Nectar, and you will have 9 Nectar in your wallet, right? And then at the same time, you can actually send Nectar out by wrapping it, right? So like this was not implemented beforehand until we saw it. Once we push it out, we're like, hey, this is actually much needed. That's just one example that I know of that just came on my head that happened as we just launched products within Comb.
Got it. And just one more question: is this team docs, or is there a full website where I can see people's information behind the team?
Yeah, if you just type in Cone Financial on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see my face, Moon's face. We're out there. We're face doxed. We will be coming out with a new landing page relatively really soon. Where you have the names, LinkedIn's, and all that good stuff. But as far
Right.
as seeing like who's behind the protocol, who's controlling the contracts, yeah, like Phil, like he's out there, right?
Great. Great.
So you're able to see that.
Thank you so much for your time, guys. Thank you so much.
Anytime, anytime. Thank you for the questions.
Appreciate it. Let's see here. We're gonna bring on Inho, or however that's pronounced.
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Good. Do you guys think about going to the stock market or something like this anytime soon?
Most likely not.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
just
maybe-
wondering because you
yeah.
guys like open a company and all that, and
Yeah, we're most likely gonna go into real world assets, but not like stocks. So
okay,
Yeah.
that's it. It's just like I don't have I still don't have a node. I was just
Yeah.
like struggling to get my hands on one like 5 or 6 days from now. But I live in a third world country, so my currency is like worth like 5 times less than $1. So
Yeah.
every node is like extremely expensive for me. So I was just like, and I heard something about the node cap, and I was like, God damn it, I'm not gonna be able to do it. And I don't know if this is actually a good idea. And I was just like hoping to hear something that actually convinced me to get in.
Yeah. So just to touch base on the stock one,
Mhm.
that's definitely like something that can be on the burner. It's not
Mhm.
something that's happening in the foreseeable future, but it's not something like that where we say, hey, we're not doing that, right?
Mhm.
As far as the discussion with I feel for you, and I'm really really sorry because that is one aspect
Yeah.
that we do want to make.
Yeah.
Like my whole goal and our whole entire goal is to make home accessible to everybody, right? And that's the beauty of decentralization is anybody around the world can invest, and it's not just it's. If we go the route, I will promise you, there will be mechanisms that you can invest in, and you will still reap, you will still have benefits. And the thing is, Dino, is you were extremely early, right? It does suck that some people get in earlier than others, but that's just the nature of how things work in just the world, right? Like this was a risk to get into the moment it launched, but the people that got in early benefited, right? And the whole idea is that you already, everybody in this, like even in this call, in this AMA, you guys are already naturally ahead of like I would say 95% or 90% of the population out there. You guys already have navigated through networks. Something that might seem super easy for you guys is actually a very hard task. And I know we all have went through that at one time saying, how do you get phantom added or how do you just navigate through networks? How do you bridge? These are very simple things that we can do within like a second that it's going to take a lot of individuals that are entering the space some time and research. At the same time, I was a subject of, the gas, right? Where my first time I transacted, I've ended up buying and I didn't have enough gas, right? So that's happened to me, right? So the thing is, like the reason I say this is because we're still in such an early phase. And even though it might feel like you're missing out or we don't want you to feel like you're FOMO or any of that stuff, just know that you're still really, really early and just tuning into these AMAs, whether or not like you invest today or tomorrow. The beauty is that you have the resources that literally like Twitter and Discord are right now. Probably the biggest alphas that one can receive in this space, right? There's so much material being pushed out daily, and you guys will be the first ones to see it. So yeah, man, like I said, not you, like you're ahead of 95% of the people probably in the world, right? Maybe
Right.
even more talking about the world. Like just know you're early, and don't let that just think about the positivity, saying, hey, you know what? I'm learning about the subject, and there will be use cases for you to invest in us, mind you, there will be. There will be factors where you can actually still benefit and have those benefits, but at the same time, I do want to strive and just highlight that that you are extremely early. This space is still growing, and the way that we want to approach this company is obviously to keep going up and up the tier where we're exposed to the retail world. But yeah, hopefully that kind of gave you a little bit, I would say, just another perspective, I would say. And I
Yeah.
do apologize for not I do want this to be accessible for everybody. And
No,
and
that's
that will
okay.
be something we'll strive for.
All right, I'll just tell my mom or something like this. It's cool.
Just sell your mom? Is that what you said?
I'm kidding.
No, of course, of course.
All right, man.
But yeah,
Thanks for the time. Thanks.
of course.
Appreciate it. And one thing, obviously, when it comes to a lot of projects that are going to be out there, in the very beginning, if you think about it, for those who were wanting to get involved in Strong Block, when they heard about it for the first time, and Strong Block was at like $800, not everyone has $8,000 they can drop on a project. I think one of the beauties behind Zcomb launching is you can take the asset comb and earn income from that by you don't have to go and set up a node. So, considering the fact that the cheapest comb node currently is 3Comb, which is around what, $700, $800 investment. Um, Out of curiosity, will there be any like minimal requirement for converting a comb into Zcomb to have that revenue share?
Nope. It's any amount of comb that you really want. It's just you have to set the lock period, and that's the only thing that is set for a while. So if you set for 2 years, you can't reduce that from that point on, even if you add
Gotcha.
additional comb. But otherwise, yeah, any amounts you want to put in, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then like that's actually a great point that you brought up, Tactical, for Dino. Like, it may like perhaps a node might be out of reach for now, right? Today or tomorrow. But the aspect is when Zcomb comes out, and the earlier you are in it, the higher like returns you'll receive in the beginning until that, because over time, there's gonna be more and more locked up. And then from those rewards that you receive, remember, nodes will turn into NFTs, right? So you will have an opportunity to buy it in the future as well.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that's you're gonna have a lot of protocols that try to get as many people involved as much as possible. It's one of the things I talked about regarding Kubo in the very beginning that is having 8 different node choices too much, too many options. And I think this is a fantastic way to allow anyone, whether you have $5, $10 to get involved, and start the process, because oftentimes what you'll see, me specifically, is like the longer you wait to start the process, the more out of line you're going to be out of like that barrier to entry. Oftentimes is you just keep delaying. Um, and it's oftentimes you don't have to be 100% gun ho and set up the biggest for me, to be completely honest, I'm not going to go and set up a war hive. Is it a war hive? Is that what it's called? War hive?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like for me, I don't have the money to go and set that up, and I'm not going to go and set that up. I'd probably set up something smaller and then just continue to build up. But the end mind is actually going through the process and doing it, because it's the same way that if you don't get involved into a project, you're probably going to oftentimes just be on the sidelines watching that passive income go, and really don't want to be on the sidelines. So I think with Zcomb coming out, that's going to be a great alternative for people to be able to put in a dollar or two here or there in order to be able to start earning that revenue share, whether it's a couple of dollars a month, but like they say, pennies make dollars. So I think over time that will be a fantastic option for a lot of people.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's on the nose. Like, this is a long-term play. We view Comb as a long-term thing. You all are early, so you have a chance to um any investment will just, as long as you think long term, don't think about the penny today, think about the dollar tomorrow, right? So it's gonna be nice.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think that's mainly everything, unless anyone has any kind of final questions, comments, concerns, anything um, specific to say. And I
Not from
appreciate.
here. Not from here.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say not from here. So yeah, I
Okay.
think we're all set.
Sam or Sinky, you guys have anything?
No, just thank you so much once again, Tactile, for having us. And thank you for everybody that asked questions. If there's anything that we missed, or if anything you still are unclear about and you didn't want to come up with stage or anything of that, just know that you can always there's a lot of mechanisms, right? You can go in general chat, ask a question. You can go create a ticket. You can DM us. Just know that we're here for you guys. Anything that's unclear, anything you just need to get more assurance of, or anything about, just know that we're here for you. And once again, Tackle, thank you so much for providing us, the time to share Comb to your audience. And we hope that you guys have just got a little bit more knowledgeable when it comes to Comb.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. Appreciate the opportunity to share more about your project. And we will be, I'm trying to think, for those who are in the Discord, we should still be having our AMA next week. I'm not sure if we're going to bring another project on, but we'll just have our typical AMA at that point. But other than that, hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Maybe it's morning, evening, afternoon, but regardless, have a good one, and I will see you guys. And if you ever have any questions for me, don't hesitate to reach out to me, Twitter, DM me there on Discord, or via company email as well.
Alrighty.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it, guys.
Yep.